first episode of 2026 episode of Good Enough to Fail with Crystal Winston and Dr. Brianna Gaynor. And I am one of your illustrious hosts, Sabrina Childress Miller. Ladies, say hi.
Hi.
All right, so we are going to talk about a very hot topic that's at the moment right now. We're probably at the end of it, or we thought we were at the end of it, but every day something else seems to pop up about this particular dress gate that is the Bryant household. But I think it's only because there's so many layers to it, right? There's people focusing on different parts of Dressgate. Okay, Dressgate 20, technically it's 2025, right? She wore it together in 2025.
Yeah.
So shout out to the HBCU that they did raise, what was it? I think it was like $4 million for. So we don't want that to get lost in the sauce. However, I do feel very much like Sherry Shepherd had a great point when she said, y'all knew what you was doing when she wore that dress. You knew what she was doing when she wore the dress. So I'm gonna pause my commentary right there, and I'm gonna pass it to. Wait, is this my screen? There you go. I don't know which side it's gonna show. So I'm gonna pass it. Let me pass it to Crystal since she's right there.
So I haven't, I've been seeing this dress. First of all, I have a dress very similar, but I'm not a pastor's wife, so I too, and more, and mine is actually not just, the body mesh, which is, when I saw the dress, I didn't understand. I don't know that I understood the issue around it, but I guess, if things are traditional, I guess it's too much. I don't know who it's too much for, but she has a great body. It's a great dress. It's mesh. It's supposed to have that illusion. But to also have the illusion that it's not, right? So if you know fashion, it's for that reason. It's for the reason of looking very, fleshy tone and black. It's not, it's not that big of a deal, especially if you're the pastor's second wife. I'm confused. I'm real confused by it all. Because if you're the pastor's second wife, then, he got a second wife. Like, we're already beyond some traditional, pastor, first lady type business. So that's just me. But I don't have a lot of traditional
views.
Yeah, I'm not steeped in a lot of religious traditions, but I get it. I get why. Oh, it's the shock and awe, but it's the shock and awe of the. Can I say this again? The pastor's second wife. So,
yeah.
The second wife.
But she's not only his second wife. He got baby mamas, and this is after he's a pastor. So you got a wife with kids, you got baby mamas, and then you got.
So you can almost say that she's keeping in a tradition of how he is, of how this marriage and how this relationship might go. He may have a wife who traditionally doesn't dress like traditional first ladies, because this whole first lady situation that she's in is a non-traditional kind of situation. She's a sister wife.
So can I say something? Okay. I don't understand why they don't understand why people are complaining.
That's true.
That's the part I don't understand.
That's true.
I don't even think whether she should have or she shouldn't. It's her prerogative to wear what she wants. She looks amazing, by the way. Amazing. But I don't understand why they're acting like they're surprised that this is an issue, because if you, not just traditionally, but even in the past few years, there was, I think Erica Campbell, who's a gospel recording artist, had a dress on and people made a big deal out of it. People, especially with social media, people are going to have opinions.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when it comes to church, the people on the pulpit, you're held to a higher standard. I don't think the issue is whether that's right or wrong. I just think, duh, you didn't know that was going to happen. So to act so shocked and surprised and make this big deal out of it, to me, is the more ridiculous thing. Like, I can see maybe mentioning it, but to make it a whole thing and a sermon, like, this was not a surprise. You knew when you put that dress on that the opportunity for someone to say something was high. I cannot believe that this was a shock to you. That's the part that doesn't make sense. Come on, duh. Like, yeah, you knew what you were doing.
No, I think I agree. I don't think that they knew that it wasn't going to cause a stir, and if they were really not motivated by it, there would be no response.
Exactly. Right? Now we want
right.
When talk shows, like, come on.
Right. So they did it for the shock and awe reason, maybe not just the idea that this is just the dress I'm going to wear, because you owe no answers to anyone. Answer about them babies. That's what you answer about it. How
about you answer about God when we in church and talk about what you came to talk about?
Right.
Why is that taking over the whole thing? It makes it feel like a spectacle. What are you doing?
Well, because it was for that reason. It's like I saw a video once, and the person was talking about somebody not moving on in their seat, and I was like, the person who asked the person to move knew, because they didn't buy the ticket, they knew they were going to ask somebody. It wasn't a mistake, or she knew when she got the dress. This was her getting the dress. Oh yeah, I'm a show out. I'm gonna show up and show out on this. They're gonna have something to say. The church gonna have something to say. They didn't maybe realize that it wasn't going to be necessarily positive. And all news is news. Yeah. So even negative news, and now they on Tamron Hall, and Tamron Hall fed right into it, and all of them fed right into it. And I'm just like, and then talking about it they knew that was going to be clickbait or whatever.
And I think it takes away from the focus. I think it's like, okay, responding is one thing, but then you bring this bigger focus, and you have these people in church who are looking to you for word, for spiritual guidance, and this is the goal. Like, what is the focus? What's important? What's important here? This dress? What's your job? What we doing? Like, I don't. It's annoying to me if they let it go this far, because to me, then do you really have the right motives in general for all of that? That was very fleshy. Like, why did you have to do that? We know that's your wife. Talk about what needs to be talked about.
Extremely
right above it. Like, what? Why?
Extremely fleshy.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's fleshy.
And then for him to stand in that pulpit, he stood in the pulpit and told it. What he say? You dating a booger? Go get yourself somebody that's gonna ask how you bagged him or how you bagged her. I see. Wait a minute now, sir. Can you quote a scripture?
Yeah, that part.
Yeah, I think.
Can we do that?
I think that outside of I mean, I don't know him, and I don't know his church and all of that stuff, and I think that maybe if that wasn't the point in time, if that, I have seen back when I did go to church, very large churches, I have seen people address things at the pulpit. Controversial things that have gone on or whatever. And I feel like if they quote unquote didn't realize it was going to be a big deal, then you don't bring it to the pulpit. That's how that ends. You just don't respond. The best response is no response. You wore the dress, the event is over. And if you have to make a statement, you make a written statement that has no ability to have a rebuttal. You just say, my wife and I attended a great HBCU fundraiser. We raised a lot of money. It was a great event. We were focused on the events of the evening, and we are looking forward to getting back to our congregation and spreading the word of the Lord. We're done. And never mention that dress again. And let the next clickbait topic overshadow, and we're done. But they wanted the smoke because they started the fire.
Yep.
They absolutely did.
They absolutely. They wanted to smoke and they started.
Now that's the word. That's the word. Because they absolutely did.
Mm-hmm.
They absolutely ain't. Look, that's that on that. I just come on, sir. You handle that somewhere else. That wasn't a pulpit situation. People are calling them the Jay-Z and Beyonce of church.
No, Jay-Z and Beyonce, they don't reply. They never respond. That's a Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Right.
They never respond. I don't care what you call them. They don't say nothing. And that's the way it should be.
Absolutely.
You know? Why I know about your I got doctorate, but now it's a moment. So
then I get to stand out, and now you know who I am.
What I think they failed to do was, even though
the X is on a TV show, so I got to. Sorry.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. And she's a minister, and they're doing these married Bible studies together and series on healthy marriages. Y'all ain't been married but for 6 months. What is you talking about?
And you too can wear a flag.
And he shouldn't be talking about no healthy marriages as it is. I'm like, okay. But let me be clear about something. I used to be called the sexy usher, which I told y'all before. But like I used to be called the sexy usher, not because I wore a dress like her. I was in my usher uniform, right? Black skirt, white shirt, gloves, but my shoes, I used to wear, tall heel shoes or whatever, little stiletto, little platform heel or whatever, because I was like, that's the only thing I could like make my own, right? And people's like, well, you're a sexy usher. You think you should offer my shoes. And I would, laugh and dismiss some people. And then there were other people who were so serious, like, you're enticing men and you're doing this and you're doing that. And I was like, I'm happily married, thank you. And if somebody got a foot fetish, that's their problem, not mine. I have shoes that I like. They're comfortable for me and I can move around in them. What's the problem? Right. Now, if y'all want to talk about it at the church business meeting and change the rules and all the rest of that, that's your business. I won't be no usher no more. But like, that's your business. And people like, why you ain't doing it for the Lord? No, because see, y'all not focused on the Lord. And if you ain't focused on the Lord, that means I'm in the wrong space, right? I'm in the wrong place. So I'm just saying, I definitely agree with both of you. It was just not a pulpit moment. It was not the dress. Like I said, and the fact that there are a lot of people who are upset at the fact that she's not even, I ain't gonna say claiming to be a first lady, but like the phrase first lady, right, is a new world term. Let's be clear about that. Mm-hmm. And number two, even the word secular is nowhere in the Bible. That is a word that came somewhere around the 20th century where somebody, in a black church somewhere said secular. And all of a sudden it was supposed to mean like everything demonic, right? That's about right. And then, like, what? Huh? That's not even, show me where it is in the Bible. No, my Bible doesn't say anything like that. There's not even a word close to the word secular in the Bible. So I'm like, again, that's just something somebody made up. We set these standards. And I understand modesty. That was not modest. That was flashing, how do you say, pomp and circumstance is what that was. And she got the moment she wanted, and so did he. But somebody said, I laughed that he does something every few months so he can stay in the media. So.
And now he got somebody who
being said.
Align with that.
Somebody who ready to do it with him. Had a team. Yeah.
However, happened to agree with the yeah. They doing a whole
you're breaking up
celebrity thing. I'm like, they're gonna be the Chrisleys in a minute.
Somebody got to take Chrisley's place.
Okay, so which leads me to the next topic, or the next kind of church topic. One older woman that I do agree with, I do not know her name. I do know that there have been a lot of people mimicking or not mocking. I don't even know what do they call that when it's like when people do like the lip sync thing. Is there a name for that or no?
I'm not sure. It's like God, I can't think of the name right now.
They're not pantomime.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't remember what the name of it is.
It's just imitating.
But yeah, okay, so yeah, there are a lot of people like imitating this lady because she's an older church woman and she made some very bold statements. She said we don't need to teach these women how to quilt because she said what we need to do is teach them how to be under that quilt and how to be married and how to keep a man. We need to teach them how to, tickle him with feathers in the morning and rub his back and scratch on him a little bit, and give him a little sunshine, okay? She said, and then people were shocked that this older woman was saying, no, I'm serious. We need this. Now, I'm going to toss it to the illustrious Dr. Gaynor first because do we need this? Is that something the church needs?
I mean, I think that being able to talk about real stuff and sex and relationships is one of those things. And being able to know that you can have those conversations would be good for people to feel more comfortable and not feel like there's such a division from one place to another. And who better to get advice or wisdom than someone who has done it successfully? Doesn't mean you have to listen, but why can't you have those conversations in church? Why we got to act like that don't happen and then it does? And, it reminds me of, I remember being a teenager and being able to ask my mom about anything, including sex, and my friends couldn't. So they would ask me the questions. I would ask her and tell them. And as I think about that now, I'm happy that I could talk to her about anything. And also that I was getting correct information and not talking to my dumb friends who were just as dumb as me, who ain't know nothing. So I think it's a great idea. Crystal, what do you think?
I'm always what? What? No, I always think that transparency is the best when it comes to relationships and sex. And I'm very sex positive. I don't have biases and judgment. That means not having biases and judgment against, sex and sexuality. And I do think that the church needs to catch up to a lot of what's happening. My only caution to that is a lot of focus on what the wife has to do and not what the husband has to do. So like all of those things, I think we've always had that idea that you come into a relationship and the wife has to have all of these things that they have to do to please this husband. And then there has to be some, I think the shock is that it's this older woman, but it's also not a shock. It's a shock that she's saying it, but it's not a shock. To me, it's not a shock that she believes it because she would, because that's kind of how we've been taught to, cater to your man, love your man, make sure he's fed before he go outside. Some other woman gonna feed him and blah, 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 blah. All of this. But it's also like, to what we know and what we've grown, a lot of us have grown up to understand is that doesn't necessarily keep a man. If anything, he'll do that at your house and then go to his other wife and do it at her house. So, back, hashtag Jamal Bryant. So then so it doesn't work. But I think nothing works. It doesn't work. But I do think that her saying it kind of what I like to hear is her saying it. What I would love to hear is her say it to women of a certain age. Young women are cool. They may be shocked, but have it being said outside to women who are, not how to keep a man, but how you've kept the man, if that makes sense. Like, we know you're doing it. We know you're having sex in the church. It's like, let's keep talking about it, but talk about it in some level of context. Because I ain't cooking your food and touching you with no feather if I ain't, got some of my bills. You're going to get a feather touch, and it's going to be in your ear, and it's just going to be me aggravated because I need some stuff done. But I think that, her saying it is the shock and awe. Yeah. Now, do we need guidance? I think we can all use. I think if you're married, and I've been married a really long time, I think that it's always nice to get some feedback. I think women could share, if nothing else, to keep us on this track. Like, you still here? But you made it.
A lot of people, like, I feel like there's a lot of people who
come with me if you
may be very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Come with me. We can escape.
I feel like there are people who may be like afraid to, have such conversations, right? Because in the church, sex is very taboo, whether you're married or not, right? And even though it's coming from an older woman, I very much agree, like, men need to be involved in the conversation too. But then that gets into like, well, you in my business type of thing. Or if I bring like a, sex therapist or, coach in to talk to, my congregation, my married congregation or whatever about this, that, and the third, like, I'm not promoting fornication, right? So like, what's the problem? So there becomes like weird, like, conundrum, right? Of like, should we or shouldn't we? Can I, I don't want people to know about my sex life. That's too personal. But at the same time, like, how did you know about the feather? Right? Who told you about twisting knobs and things? You know what I'm saying? Like, who?
And
I'm just saying, like, what are we doing?
And the whole idea that we can't say that the bed is undefiled. Is that it? The bed is undefiled in the marriage, but then you get upset when certain couples, you have these kind of conversations and you realize certain couples are doing one thing and certain couples are like, oh no, we don't do that. That's terrible. That's racy. That's, I had a conversation with someone about, having sex with other, other body parts. And it's like, oh no, we don't do that. We don't need to do all of that. And I think that's where you get into the church, because it's like the idea of good. And it's like, well, I'm with my husband, so why isn't it good? And what we've decided to do in this marriage is between the two of us, but it's still, I tell people all the time when I'm counseling, like, you don't have to have multiple partners to do some freaky stuff. Like, you could do some freaky stuff and some wrong stuff with the one person you with. So you just committed with some freak. Like, you don't need to. That's what happened? Did I leave you?
No, I see you.
You still here?
Yeah.
My computer just said you're done.
I'm still here.
Yeah, you can, and that's what I tell people all the time. It's not the of course the amount of partners makes a difference, but you can get it in with one. And so if you're in church and that becomes, kind of taboo, because it's not just the sex, but it's also the kind of sex you're having, then I can see why people don't want to have those conversations.
But then maybe the other part of it too, like you were saying earlier, guys aren't involved in this conversation. It can also, maybe if we're easing into this, be a bigger conversation about respect and what that looks like and all the other aspects that keep you married. Because, making them food and giving them a feather ain't the only things that's keeping you together. So it's a bigger picture. And what are some of those things that you can do, but you should look for from him? And what does respect look like? What do boundaries look like? What does healthy look like? All of those things also are important. So that could also be like a good way to start the conversation, but just avoiding it altogether is not making it not happen with other people. It's just not being talked about. And probably you could help somebody if you gave them some advice or some wisdom that you have. I go to people who have experience in things I don't to talk about, because they help give me guidance. That's what we do in life. So the church should be a place that we can also do that. Ideally, anyway.
I can't wait for Dr. Gaynor does her church speaking tour in 2026, because they need to know something. Yeah. They need to know something. Okay, so we're gonna round out this section with actually a very sad situation, and I am trying to wrap my mind around how, and I'll explain the situation. There was a particular pastor in Indiana who essayed a young lady some years and asked for forgiveness. He basically admitted to it. He didn't say that she was, a teenager or anything like that until somebody shouted out. And the young woman happened to be in the congregation. She went up there and she told, what happened. Police investigated and they said, oh, statute of limitations. We can't arrest him. The church rallied around the pastor. Remember, the pastor who committed the crime and the young lady who was SA'd was in the same building at the same time. The church rallied around the pastor and prayed for the pastor. I'm going to let either one of y'all take that away.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's unfortunate. I think that it's kind of one of the negative aspects of church where we put this person on such a high standard that we kind of lose all good judgment. Yes, you want to ask for forgiveness, but it's about safety. It's about compassion. And a lot of times the pastors and the men, particularly the pastors, there's just kind of a different barometer where I think you can get away with stuff. And it's very, very unfortunate because there's a lot of hurt people and it sounds like she was just ignored. And unfortunately, this is one of those things that will make somebody say, and this is why I don't go to church. There's a lot of hypocrites and all of these things are going on. And it really is disheartening that is ultimately a reason that moves people away from God because it's a human thing, not a God thing. And unfortunately, humans are fallible and these are some of the disgusting things that happen. So it's just super unfortunate. And my hope is that even though the clip didn't show it, at some point, somebody said, wait a minute, hold up. Is she okay? That somebody has some sense enough to make sure she was okay and that that's not the way it ended.
Yeah, I don't have much to add other than that. I think that church, unfortunately, with a lot, and it's not just church, and I think we focus on church because, again, we're going back to what's good, what's supposed to be good and safe. But a lot of organizations have their blue walls or their the blue wall with police or whatever other organizations where they protect their own. And I think the congregations, whether they knew, because here's my thing, somebody knew, had an inkling, thought about it. And I unfortunately don't believe that she would be the only one. And so, and the fact that she was an adult meant that it went unnoticed, nobody helped her then. So that meant that he may have felt that he got away with it. That meant that maybe someone else was affected by it. And so they have these traditions again of protecting people and, saying that, well, the first answer is to God. And when you have that, I feel like the perpetrator and the person that's being perpetrated against the victim, they're both in this kind of family connected organization where nobody knows how to get out. So the perpetrator feels safe, but the other person feels trapped.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, I'm glad that maybe someone asked how she was doing, because there's not, like, I don't care, statute of limitations or not, I would want to, and I think she did. I think this was part of maybe a way of addressing the person who hurt her. But I hope that she gets some type of outside of the church, to make it better, or to start a process for herself to make it better.
Yeah, because that could re-traumatize her, that whole situation.
The whole thing is not in any type of safe space. It's not in any controlled type of space. It's just, you could tell she was just like, well, wait a minute. Hold on. You're not going to get your redemption here and leave me hanging. And I'm actually glad that there was a person that said what they said
Yeah.
to make it be like, no. And then I feel like, that's why I feel like it happened to someone else. Because I think it was, it's unspoken things. And the churches, who, law enforcement, hospitals, like all of these organizations that protect their own and protect these people who continue to do these things are the biggest issue.
I definitely agree with the re-traumatizing her, because my question initially was, why is she still at this church? Why was she still made to go to this church? And then her being an adult now, why are you still at this church? And he's the pastor.
You have to, without having context, the other part is how much of her safety did she feel in the church until she didn't? Because she was 14, she was 16. So, we talk about people feeling like this was something that was okay until it wasn't. And then I didn't realize until I looked back and said, oh, none of it was okay. This was a pastor of the church, just like a teacher, just like, all of these things. It's no different from any other situation. And again, the church also could trap her. So it's like, okay, well, I'm safe in this church. I should be okay. But I also can't leave these group of people who should be helping me. And then, how many times you hear people say later, like, this was never a safe place for me. But not realizing.
I definitely, it infuriates me. Like, it makes me literally angry when I see stuff like this and when I come across things like this, because even as a kid, teenager, young adult, when I saw wrong in anybody's church, whatever, like, oh no, I'm standing on business. Now, yeah, I know everybody ain't like me. Okay. I get it. Everybody don't do and respond the way I do. I've always been an outspoken person. I'm like, I'm gonna fall on the sword for you. If you don't want to do it, I'm gonna do it. So it makes me violent. I'm not gonna lie, it makes me violent. Can I say it makes me violent, Dr. Gaynor? Can I say something makes me?
You can say whatever you want to say. You can say whatever you want.
I'm saying, like, you know how people say, oh, nothing, nobody can make you. Da, da, da. I'm like, no, it makes me violent. Like, I want to wreck shop, burn down the whole building, punch people in the face. You know what I'm saying? Like, kick over the whole thing. Like, I'm gonna meet you in the parking lot, okay? And I hope somebody met them in the parking lot for her. Yeah. And statute limitations or not, like, I just feel like there's no statute limitations on murder, right? But you murdered my future. How about that?
Yeah, I think that the other part too is when you're in that kind of trauma cycle and you've been victimized, you can tend to stay in that loop, right? And it's easy it's hard to understand when you're not in that loop. So I do hope that she can get some help to help her make different choices to be able to heal from the trauma, because unfortunately you can continue to do that and maybe you don't go to that church anymore, but then you are continuing to be in relationships that perpetuate this. So there's so many things that can come from it, and it didn't have to happen. And that's yeah. And then as a parent, you send your child to church, like, really? I thought I was doing a good thing, and then something happens.
And not have people in the church make excuses for the perpetrator. I am no longer, I'll pray for you, but I'm not praying for you in this church on this pulpit in front of these people. It's not. That's a grandstand, and it gives no support.
That's what I'm like. Why not remove him as pastor? Why not?
But that happens. It happens a lot. We
remove it.
Right. Remove
Maybe we should see what happened after this. Hopefully, all the backlash, they made some different choices. Maybe that was just
if they investigate. I can't imagine. I would hope not to imagine that if they did a level of investigation and find out that it was real, even if they couldn't prosecute, that he wasn't ostracized from the church.
Yeah. Because I don't care what you talk about on Sunday. No, thank you.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm gonna say that he probably did it to someone else. I can't imagine it.
Yeah, that's usually
how
how it
Allegedly.
And the fact of the matter is, he admitted it. And he admitted it though. He stood up there and was like, "Oh, I did this thing, asking for forgiveness." So there's no need for you to investigate what he just told you he did it.
But it almost feels like he knew that he was gonna.
She just told you he did. Everybody involved said he did.
Yeah, I think he knew that he would probably get that response. It doesn't seem like he was shocked. You know, I don't know. We can presume, but hopefully something happened later.
Right.
Right.
So okay. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Until next time, again, welcome to 2026. We are you know, 3 strong. You before we let the people go, tell them what you got going on.
Oh, okay. You're kind of going in and out. Sorry. So I'm Dr. Gaynor. I am a clinical psychologist with a practice in Alpharetta, Georgia. I wrote my first book last year called Nina Smile. It's a children's book about resiliency. And it's also a book for families. And I am a speaker. I speak about mental health and resilience. And so we'll be doing a lot more of that in 2026.
And I am Crystal Winston, Crystal L. Winston, Chris Winston.
All right, Mr. Winston.
I am also an author. I am a public health administrator, sex positive podcaster, speaker. This is my little book that's about celebrated 20 years after I met a boy, which is for young adult teenage girls, and may make itself back into the school system. We never know. I met one of the students who was interested in putting it. She's like, you should go back into schools. I'm like, it's 20 years old, and so are you. So 20 years older, but yeah, I am. I'm still working with community HIV outreach and prevention. So that's what I do, and plan to do a lot more of that in 2026.
All
right, and I am looking forward to traveling a lot more, supporting my awesome female co-host here, and I have some projects that I can't mention right now that involve all of us, and then that involve me personally. But don't worry, we'll come back to those. So in the meantime, in between time, please subscribe, like, share, give us your comments, send us your questions, and until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Bye.